All right. As always, these are all my own thoughts and opinions. The title of this video is going to be The Hidden Withdrawal, Mimicry, Metatron, and the Lost Light of Shambala. It started with a thought about mimicry, something I've subconsciously known my whole life but couldn't fully name. Picture this. You're watching TV, everything looks normal until one person's faces glitches. Black and white zigzag, static, distortion, like interference. Maybe they play it off, but you felt it. You actually saw it. That isn't camera error. It's revealing a frequency, a false resonance. This isn't shape-shifting, it's mimicry. They keep the form, but hijack the perception filter, our perception, how we see them. It's reptilian essence, cold, disconnected, and stealthy. And that's not the whole story. Because once I really sat with this, I remembered the fifth dimensional geometry we all once held that I've done videos on. I remembered how the sacred spiral light descended into form, but then something happened. Some of those beings, once architects of source, descended too far. They lost the spiral breath, they got entangled in polarity, and their geometry snapped. Like a rubber band from the fifth to the third, and you pull it down, eventually it snaps. They became the Anuna, not gods, but fallen angels. They pulled fourth dimensional patterns with them, a mirror world beneath ours, a mimicry realm. That's Agartha, near the polar gate, where Admiral Byrd saw a city, but was told to keep silent. Those beings, what we now call the tall whites, don't die unless killed. They exist suspended in liminal frequency with ancient reptilian soul signatures. They aren't shape-shifting, they're being shaped by their own essence. But then I was thinking, were all the beings who descended disconnected? No, not at all. Some of them kept the spiral flame. Some never severed their tether to source, and they built a city too. In fact, they withdrew from our collapsing world, but stored their frequency above it. That city is called Shambala. Shambala isn't a myth. It's not Elohim. It's not a cloud castle. It withdrew from the third dimension in the fall of Atlantis, just as we began tearing the geometry off our bones. As we descended, Shambala rose, not physically, but vibrationally, into the fifth dimension. And this is exactly where our study of language in the Metatronic descent led me. We discovered that the first major fracture in language, where sacred expression became reversed, was where the structure replaced resonance occurred at the exact same time that Shambala began its withdrawal. I literally just compared the timelines today after I went through this whole thought process. That was the moment the cube took dominion. Shambala's departure is Western civilization's fingerprint. No more spiral temples. No more heart grids. Instead, right-angled structures, empire language, extraction, worship of technology, geometry as control. The Metatronic system was born. So you want to know when all this started? That's exactly when it started. Now about the giants. Okay, this is where it's going to get a little rough for some of you. Before the flood, we were enormous. 30-foot tall giants, or could we just say 30-foot tall humans? Our ancestors, those who carried the original spiral codes, stood tall in Atlantis, resisting the invasion. These were the ones who stood firm in the face of the fall. After the flood, everything changed. The invading beings, offspring of the fallen, began calling us Nephilim, a slang term from Nephelheim, the lowest realm of the tree of life. It wasn't a title, it was an insult, a distortion, a rewriting of history. So when we say Nephilim today, we've inverted the truth. What people think of as Nephilim, these modern hybrid beings with reptilian signatures, are the offspring of the invaders, the tall whites, the Anuna. But our ancestors, the true giants, were the real children of light. And they didn't disappear. They got smaller. Each generation of giants after the flood shrank, from the Anakin to the Rephaim, until we arrived at modern humans. And I have even a chart on my page, but if you look at the succession of giants in the Bible, each generation, each tribe gets smaller and smaller until we get to modern human. Even our bodies tell us this story. The giants had double rows of teeth. Their jaws could support it. We still carry echoes of that in the form of baby teeth. Double rows compressed into childhood because our jaws are too small now. So we have the same double rows of teeth that they had. Our jaws are just way too small now to encompass them, which is why we have baby teeth fall out. 6 fingers, 6 toes, extra vertebrae. Just like the horses that once had toes evolved into hooves. We've compressed and compacted. We shrank into our bodies, and our bodies shrank into the cube mind. We became disconnected, and our words changed. We see it in language, the emergence of the inversion coding in Phoenician, Greek, and Latin. Each shift in tongue echoed the descent of Shambala and the rise of empire. And I've told you before, this is why the bloodlines were preserved. The royalty kept their elongated skulls because they kept their bloodlines pure. They didn't intermingle. That's why they wore the hats and the crowns, because their skulls were different. The bloodlines came from the old ones. And those bloodlines are what kept them in power every age of empire. Literally. So when you say Nephilim, remember, what you think are Nephilim, those reptilian-coated tall whites, are not our ancestors. Our ancestors were true giants, spiral-bodied, heart-centered, resisting the fall. They didn't die. Their bloodlines didn't vanish. It just got compacted, hidden, coated. But they're still here. The true children of light are the ones who today remember the spiral, who feel something wrong with the frequency, who hear static in the mimicry, who don't fit into the cube. Full timeline recap: Lemuria, Ghost People, emerge, etheric, unified. Atlantis, first light, spiral geometry, Shambala interface. Atlantis, decline, entry of Watchers, descent of Anuna, hierarchy invasion. Shambala, withdrawal, Metatronic birth, flood and the Tower of Babylon, giant shrink, language fracturing, empire rises. Phoenicians to Merovingians to empire orders, cube mind locks in with inverted geometry, language, and architecture. But here's where it gets miraculous. Shambhala never left. It lives in the 5th dimensional torus above the polar gate, nested not in visibility but in vibration. When humanity cleanses the lower frequencies, heart, spirit, song, spiral, Shambhala will be seen again. Not as a city, but as a reactivated field in our own hearts. Everything you feel, even mimicry static, is a glitch in the field telling you something is off. And you're right, because the highest light is already reaching us. We are standing on an inheritance, a broken architecture we have the power to restore. Spiral or cube, resonant or measure. We love, we breathe, we spiral, we remember. We are the echo of the giants. We are the children of Shambhala. And the final bridge is in our own heart. Have a great night. Namaste.